lesser slot, i.e. prime time, and have more eyeballs watch the NFL.
Well, they will be next year. They're not today. Like yesterday, there were 2 games I didn't spend much time on. One of them was the Cowboy-Bengal game. And I can't remember the last time. The last time that happened is the Tony Romo got hurt year.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch the Cowboy game. I mean, I watched everything yesterday. Carolina, Denver didn't have a lot of repercussions, so I didn't watch that much. I mean, I watched the highlights and I had it off to the right. Cowboys, Bengals, I saw plays only. I never gave it 8 minutes.
There's just down years in brands. The Cowboys are the biggest brand in all of sports, all around the entire globe. They're the biggest.
Yeah.
So they're going to be fine next year. But
Yeah.
this year, they are not a draw. I'm with you. There was nothing interesting about that Bengals. Nothing. The Bengals don't even have Joe Burrow. Like, there was nothing interesting about that game yesterday. And it's not a reflection of the Cowboys as a brand or how they're run as an organization or anything. It's just, this is not the year.
Well, a few years ago, we had, who was the Kobe's Lakers had about a 2-year stretch. Not his last year, but the years before. And they just had a bunch of young, immature guys, and it was like the networks didn't put them on much. I mean, it's just like they were. And you had Kevin Durant to the Warriors, and you just had more interesting other brand. I mean, Miami's a brand, and Boston's a brand, and
well, there's some teams where, they get hot, and then they kind of start to feel like, we're in that conversation. We're gonna be in prime time every single year, and then they have a down year, and it's like, no, this is who you still are as an organization. That's not what the Cowboys are. They're just not. There's nothing going on with them this year. They're 4-9. They're last in the NFC East, which is the worst division in football in decades. They're 21st in points per game. They're allowing the most points per game on defense. Like, this is not the year for the Cowboys. They'll be back next year, and I think it's going to be a very interesting and crucial offseason. What they very close attention to yesterday was the Eagles and Saints, and Jalen Hurts led the Eagles to a 24-21 win over the Saints in his first game as a starter. He was 17 of 30 for 167 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 106 yards, and he lost a fumble. And Doug Peterson announced this morning that Hurts will get the start again Sunday against the Cardinals.
Tell me he doesn't look like Russell Wilson running. It's the same arm. They look the exact same running.
I thought this was very exciting.
Yeah.
I know Philly's pretty much out of it. And, the Saints, like, that's not really a game you want to lose if you're the Saints.
No kidding. That was a big loss.
I thought it was very significant. I did not think that the Eagles were going to get this win because, it matters to the Saints to get that game. And it matters to the Eagles, too, obviously. But, like, the Saints are the best of the NFC. Like, they needed to get that game. I think it's very interesting, and I think there's a lot of repercussions from him going out there and getting that win.
There's sometimes in sports, something happens to a league that just ensures its growth. One of the things that is so good for the NFL, how many of now that you've added athlete to the quarterback position, not just your classic drop back 6'5" guy, how many of these quarterbacks you throw out there for the first time and you're like, oh, you can win games. I mean, I've been watching this league long enough to know it used to be you had a good quarterback and then you had an old guy as a backup, kind of a washed guy, but you had him there because he could handle. Now, and it wasn't very exciting. When you went to a backup, you went to a backup. Now you go to a backup and it's Taysom Hill and it's Jalen Hurts and you're like, oh,
they might just take the job.
They may be better. What's happening with quarterback play, I watch USC, UCLA. And USC's the bigger brand, right? UCLA, I watched the kid playing quarterback, and I'm like, nobody's talking about that kid. That kid's an NFL quarterback.
That was such a fun game.
It was a wild game. By the way, I was on a flight. I watched USC, UCLA. The guy in front of me had LSU, Florida on. It was like having a media room on a plane. I had right in front of me, I'm like, I get the SEC game of the day, I get the Pac-12 game of the night.
Well, they have they're at the Cardinals this weekend, or the Eagles, then they're at the Cowboys, and then they have Washington. I mean, if he wins 2 of those last 3.
Well, I think you absolutely at this point for Philly, you start him until you just keep playing him. Just go. You saw he can play. We were worried about confidence.
And what do you do next year?
Well, then you figure it out next year. Today's problem, Joy, if you've got an issue in your life, you just get through December.
Let's get through 2020.
That's right.
That's fair. So the Cowboys.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, it was looking like an upset there for the first 5 minutes.
Boy, I tell you what, there is Miami's first 5-6 minutes, almost every game I've seen this year, they give quarterbacks fits. I mean, Russell Wilson, not just every guy. At first 5 minutes, first 7-8 minutes, Mahomes was, he was struggling.
No, they're gonna come out ready to go. They overcame a 10-point early deficit to the Chiefs and 4 turnovers to beat the Dolphins 33-27. 3 of those 4 turnovers were interceptions thrown by Patrick Mahomes, who had his first multi-interception game in the regular season since 2018. So, I think that stat alone is very reflective of what this Dolphins defense is.
Yes.
Like, they do cause turnovers, and Patrick Mahomes is not someone that throws interceptions. He does not turn the ball over. He also took a 30-yard sack, which is the longest sack since 2015. It was so bizarre. I was like, I had to watch it again. I was like, what is he doing? Because this is not what Patrick Mahomes does. Like, he doesn't make mental errors. It was so weird.
Isn't it amazing what great defensive coaching does to even star quarterbacks?
Yeah.
You go back, Belichick against Peyton Manning. Mahomes is a wizard. In those first 2 or 3 series, he was making mistakes he has not made in a year against anybody.
And that's we lean so much into offense. Like, that's all we talk about. It's all we focus on, the offensive numbers. Like, if you have a great defense, so I'll mention it in passing, but you can really see, the Dolphins are not as good of a team as the Chiefs.
And they were
obviously
also missing their top 3 running backs in Kyle Van Noy. When the story came out right before the game that all 3 running backs were out, I literally tweeted this. It's like, okay, I'm 0-1 and blazing 5. That's not a game you can win. A rebuilding team missing a key component to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. They're all out. And I'm like, the fact that it was that close, if in Miami today, I'm like, I feel unbelievable about my football team.
No, I do, and I'm not a huge moral victory person, but I do think that the process and development is very important, especially in a young team.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't think that it was the right choice to keep Fitzpatrick in, even if it meant that they were going to win games, because that doesn't serve you in the long run, and you're not ready to win a Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
So if you were every other position on the field and everything that was going on was positioned, you could win a Super Bowl. You just have to have a quarterback that can win you some games. Okay, then maybe not see what Tua has this year. But that's not the situation the Dolphins are in. I thought they played a game against the Chiefs that was respectable, and the defense was unbelievable. Like, he gave him fits, and you never say that about Patrick Mahomes. They had 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 4 first turnovers, including that sack.
I'm so excited for Miami's future. The NFL is better when the Bears are good, the Niners are good, and Miami's good. They really are.
I love it. So Washington jumped into first place in the NFC East with a 23-15 win over the 49ers. They didn't score an offensive touchdown and lost Alex Smith to injury in the first half, but the defense picked up the slack, scoring 2 touchdowns in their 6th win of the season. They've now won 4 straight, and they control their destiny in the division. So they are at top of the NFC East at 6-7. Giants obviously lost yesterday, so they are 5-8. Eagles 4-8-1, and the Cowboys are 4-9. The rest of their schedule is not easy. They have the Seahawks next week, then the Panthers,
win,
and at the Eagles. So the Giants' remaining schedule is not any easier. They have the Browns, at the Ravens, and then against the Cowboys.
Well, here's the good news. We know Miami found the right coach. It looks like the Giants did and Washington did. Ron Rivera's a good fit.
He's had an unbelievable season.
He's battling cancer, the quarterback chaos, and they're going to win this division. And by the way, they could end up going 500. If you look at their schedule, it's realistic to think they're going to be an 8-8 team. That's
remarkable.
That is. Coach of the year, you could say Kevin Stefanski. Ron Rivera's got to be on your ballot. He's got to be somewhere on your ballot.
And they have a star in Chase Young. So you didn't get your quarterback this year. Alex Smith, it's a calf soreness or something in his